we're dealing with more stress in one day of our lives than our ancestors less than 100 years ago had to manage in their entire lifetime. So what does that mean for us? I want to break that down a little bit and talk about how our nervous system responds to stress, the mechanisms through which it responds, how that affects us, and then also how we can counteract it. We have two primary modes of operation in our nervous system. We have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, and they kind of act like levers for each other. So when one is firing, the other one isn't, and vice versa, kind of like a seesaw. The sympathetic part of the nervous system is the fight or flight response. And in some cases, we could even take it further to something called freeze or faint, which we'll talk about later. The parasympathetic nervous system, we can also call the rest and digest mode, or the relaxation and rejuvenation and healing, or even growing is also what we can do in the parasympathetic. So since the two modes of the nervous system act like a seesaw, like I said, when you're in one, you're not in the other. So if you're in fight or flight, then you're not going to be resting, digesting, and healing. And these days, the reality is that most of us are in a perpetual state of fight or flight. You know, back in the day when stress was a direct confrontation, like a bear was coming to chase us, we would have to react. So we would either fight the bear or run away. And what happens in our nervous system at that point is that all of our resources go to our extremities and to our heart, because our heart starts pumping really fast because we need to be able to utilize our limbs to either fight the bear or run away. And that's a relatively healthy response, which if we need it, it's super useful. But what happens these days is because we find ourselves in this perpetual fight or flight mode, then what's happening, our resources are being taken away from our organs of healing, and they're going towards the fight or flight organs and body parts. So now, instead of a bear coming to chase us, though, it's the little things like an email that we need to respond to, or some embarrassing social media post, or we need to drive the kids somewhere, or we got to cook a meal, or there's some immediate situation that we used to not be able to find out about right away. But because of modern communication, now anyone has access to us anywhere in the world. And with technology of video and everything, they could be calling us from South America saying, hey, I need to talk to you and you need to look me in the eye or whatever. So these things are stressing us out in a way that is not what we had to deal with in the past. And because of this instant communication, that people have this instant access to us, we really have to look at how that's registering in our nervous system and how it feels, and find ways of managing that kind of pressure, because it's both conscious and subconscious at the same time. And it's also not just emergencies. It's every little thing that requires our attention and all of the enormous amounts of information that we need to process. So we aren't able to be in the rest and digest mode, which is where we get a chance to rejuvenate and heal. And we get a chance to digest our emotions and digest our experiences. And there's also some additional ways that I mentioned, the freeze or faint response. And that has become even more of an issue these days because, you know, fight or flight is a natural response. And even though it aggravates our nervous system, at least we feel like we're able to do something about the problem. Either you have to run away or you have to put up your dukes. But because of the overwhelming amount of information that we're being forced to process, we sometimes can't even take that in. And it makes us freeze completely, and we're unable to respond in any way at all. And it's like we're a deer caught in the headlights. And that makes us feel totally ineffectual, like we just can't do anything. And then the faint mode takes it even further because we're so shocked that we just completely check out. And this is actually what commonly happens to people who go into a coma. They just check out. And so it's just not even something that I can freeze about, right? It's just, I'm not even looking at it at all. I can't deal, and I'm just going to completely ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. Just total avoidance. And the thing is that it doesn't actually look usually like the person is fainting. I mean, I talked about a coma, but sometimes people are just walking around in this faint mode where they're just in complete avoidance. And if that's ever happened to you, or if you've seen anyone in that situation, it can be pretty scary to see and it can be pretty scary to experience. So both the freeze and faint modes are more harmful because they make us feel like there's nothing that we can do, and we just feel like totally ineffectual, and there's this incredible wear and tear on our nervous system and also on our psyche, and therefore on our physical body as well. So what we want to do is we want to be able to get ourselves as quickly as possible out of the sympathetic mode, whether it's fight, flight, freeze, or faint, and as quickly as possible into the rest and digest and rejuvenation mode. One of the things that we can do is to find tools that help us to manage our perception of the things that are happening to us. I go into more detail about these tools and how they can benefit you in my program, Master Your Body IQ. I'll be hosting a free 5-day Body IQ challenge to give you a chance to immediately experience the energy and immune boost we all need right now. We need the brain to feel okay about whatever it is that we're encountering, because the brain is like the CEO of our body, and it has to manage everything that's going on. The cortices is the plural for the cortex layer of the brain, and we have a left and a right hemisphere. And the left side is more of the intellectual, the logic and the reasoning and the detailed side. And then the right brain is more of the emotion, the intuition, and the big picture. And these two sides must be working in harmony with each other all the time. So you can't have a situation where you're only looking at the details or you're only looking at the big picture. You know, if you're making a plan, you can't just make a list of all the things that you want to do and not have any idea how they all fit together. And it's also the same thing with our cells. We have one cell, that cell, let's say it's a liver cell. It needs to know exactly what its job it has to do as a liver cell, but it also has to know how that job fits in with the other liver cells, the other cells of the body, right? Otherwise, there would be total chaos. So either you're lost in the details, or and you don't have any idea of like what else is going on, or you can see what's going on, but you don't know what to do. And neither of those two are going to be the right thing. We need to have both. The activities that we're going to do in the Body IQ 5-day challenge make sure that we have a harmony between the left and right sides of the brain, so the two sides are in proper communication and balance, so they can have the details and the big picture, and they're working in harmony with each other. And that's going to harmonize all the cells of the body. It's going to harmonize our brain. Basically, it's going to harmonize our whole being, right? Everything. The brain being the CEO and all the cells, and everybody is going to be working in harmony together with the details and the big picture, the intuition and the logic, all of those things happening together. To join the free 5-day challenge, just go to bodyiqchallenge.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the challenge.